Welcome to another edition of Black Men Screaming. My name is Maurice Carver, Executive Director of Stride Incorporated and host of your show. I'd like to welcome all those people out there watching the Bmstv network around the country. I mean, when you look at that situation and you think about justice in America, I want to start off talking about something that's dear to my heart, and that's
Hey Denise.
Yes.
Are you ready to shoot an episode of Can We Talk?
Yes, I am. Hi, this is Denise Sutton reporting today on behalf of Black Men Screaming and Can We Talk Television. And I have two special guests with us today, Miss Barbara Bethea and Miss Nicole Sharpe. They're no strangers to Can We Talk Television. However, on this special edition, we have collaborated with Black Men Screaming to talk to Black women about what's going on in the world today and their feelings and hopes and dreams and aspirations in this time and season. I would like each guest to introduce themselves and tell me the organizations they are a part of, starting with Sister Barbara Bethea.
Okay, I am Barbara Bethea. I am a licensed creative art therapist and supervisor, and I work for Correctional Health Services in New York City Health and Hospital. I also have a private practice called Poetry Works Entertainment, and that's enough out of me. I'm also a credentialed alcohol substance abuse counselor, master level.
Nicole.
So my name is Nicole Sharpe, and I am the founder of the Heather Hurley Foundation for the Prevention of Domestic Violence. I'm named after my late mom, who died as a result of domestic violence. I also currently work at SUNY Downstate Medical Center in the Department of Human Resources.
Thank you both for joining us today. You know, in the wake of COVID-19, we've all have experienced a new normal of sorts, and especially being Black women or women of color, there's been a big gap with employment. There was an article in The Guardian, it was an online article that I read, and they were talking about Black women, the she session that we are in right now, where there are a large amount of women that are unemployed or have taken a loss in pay or cut in pay due to the effects of COVID-19. Do you see that in your day-to-day walk? I mean, Nicole, you just mentioned you're working at a hospital, and Barbara, so are you. You're working in a facility. Do you see that happening to people that you know, or what have you heard, and or what is your feeling on that? Who wants to start?
I can begin. I've been seeing a lot of women disproportionately compared to men. They are experiencing many ills with regard to employment now because of childcare issues, number one, and also parental care issues, because a lot of women take care of their parents or a surviving parent who has underlying medical conditions that would make them susceptible to getting very sick if they're exposed to COVID-19. So they have to think of, should I go into a job physically where I can expose myself, get it, be asymptomatic, not know that I have COVID, go home and give it to my mother or father and they end up dying, or give it to my young child, you know, and it's a big problem that's happening because of the fact that women are caretakers more so than men are. So, and a lot of women are actually going without getting paid because they can't go into work because they have to take care of their families. And, you know, it's something that society has to look at. Are we going to put families, which are the building blocks of our society, in the background? You know, at this time, we're going to see we're already seeing a lot of issues, the crumbling of family units because of COVID-19 and hard decisions that women have to make with regards to it.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Barbara. Barbara, do you have any views before I go into the next question? Because Nicole just mentioned women taking care of their elderly, the underlying conditions. And when you know of people that work in the healthcare field and they have to go to work every day, and it's already stressful for them dealing with the fact that they have loved ones that they have to come home to, but then dealing with the fact that they too themselves can get sick and then they lose their income. How do you feel about that, Barbara?
Well, you know, and I appreciate, Nicole, you going first and opening up the conversation, because I too, working in healthcare, firstly, with COVID-19, what it did, it exposed this country in terms of the economic strata that African Americans and people of the brown and black skinned persons are the service workers of this country, and always have been. The upper management is left to the Caucasians, whites. So they had the opportunity and the privilege to stay home and maintain their salaries and operate their businesses at the comfort of their home with a cup of coffee and slippers in the morning. However, the people of black and brown persons were still sent out to be exposed and have to succumb, as you said, as you've indicated. You make those choices as to whether or not they were going to succumb to COVID-19, and a great many. COVID-19 impacted our community greatly. There is a much larger disparity in terms of deaths. It hit the black and brown communities much harder than it has in the white community, because we are the service workers of the United States. Bus drivers, I remember that a clip, a Facebook clip of the bus driver who had reported the woman had sneezed on the bus, and a week later the man was dead, and his family was now left without that particular income. I don't know all of the particulars that go along with whether there was a 2-income family or what have you, but even that large income that he made is now out. So that leaves that family now vulnerable economically. They're going back and forth in the Congress right now as to whether to extend the $600 unemployment, to look at the moratorium about evictions. We already had an overwhelming amount of people being homeless, which has definitely hit the African American and brown Latinx community. So those things were exacerbated once COVID-19 came. It just highlighted that, and it just completely decimated those particular areas in our lives or what have you. I know for a fact that there was a nurse, and God bless the essential workers. I am an essential worker. I am still going into, I work for correctional health services in a forensic setting. That's what I'm allowed to say on such broadcasts. But the matter of it is that most other programs and outside agencies were told not to come into the facility that I work in, but I had to go in every day. I still had to go into areas that had been designated with a person that had been affected. My concern was, here I have some, what they call comorbid health issues that it could expose me to an illness, either bringing it back home with my family or hitting me directly. And then there was a little snafu in terms of when I submitted paperwork to try to be excused, that it had to have this specificity. The doctor had a list, well, what exactly is the extenuating circumstances? I mean, is it a little bit of this, or how extreme is your condition? And I got tired of playing with that, and I had to rely on the one with all power, my God, you know? But I mean, you're hit, in order to stay home, you had to almost jump through hoops to show that you had some kind of health disparity that put you at risk. And if you couldn't show that or document that to the extent that they were looking for, then you were not going to be exempt from coming to work. But a young lady, a nurse, she was put in that, not one that I work with, but somewhere where my daughter lives, a nurse that had to be exposed, was exposed to COVID-19. She did not get it. but she did bring it home to her family. The family got sick, the mother got sick, and the mother died. How do you reconcile knowing that your work, your livelihood killed your mother, the blessing in life, and these people, the healthcare professionals still have to go back and forth to work. They're not getting time off. There's no it's lockstep, time off. I didn't get time off, your exposures, you're expected to come into work. They did give us a kind of a relieved work schedule. Now I'm back up to 4 days. So yes, I drive to work, but if you're on public transportation, those trains are packed. Those buses, there's no safe distancing. So I know, that I've gone to length and strength, elaborating on this particular issue, but the concern is that the service industry are Black and brown peoples. We are constantly being put out there that this threat is a direct hit towards our generations and our families. And that's really just very heart-rendering, heartbreaking to even look at and to be a part of that.
Yeah, when the Congress passed the CARES Act in March of 2020 to help supplement people's incomes with the $600 a month pay to help those that were on unemployment, and now that has ceased, that has stopped, and then people are losing their jobs again, and they have to go on some form of subsidy. Especially with Black and brown people, or especially women who are now plagued with taking care of their children. The kids have been out of school, they've been schooled at home. So not on top of those that are caregivers to elderly, they have to go to work because they're deemed essential workers, and then they have to take care of their children at home. Now, with their talks of September schools opening up, but on a various a scaled back schedule, and we all live in New York City. We don't have anyone on the line who's out of this particular state of New York. However, we know that there's been much debate between the governor and the mayor of New York and New York State. What are your views on that with our children now, who now have to go, some of them have to go back into these classrooms, and we're not sure, quote unquote, if we are in safe zone. We're told we are, but we won't really know until September comes into play and they go back to school.
Yeah, I can speak. I have a school-age child who's starting high school, and they are giving us the option of choosing 100% remote instruction or mixed, and also with the option of changing it, as time goes on, because we really don't know what's going to happen this winter when the flu season begins again, right? So at least they're giving that option. Every school is different, but I just hope that we're flexible enough, meaning the city, to be able to make all the children be remote, because it looks like that's where we're probably going to be headed logically, just as they had to do unexpectedly earlier this year. But I feel safer having my child at home 100% remote work. I mean, we live in a time where we can do that. I mean, I think that should be something that all schools should be doing.
And do you feel that there's any type of fear that we should have, or apprehension, I shouldn't say fear, but apprehension about going into the fall season, winter season, where the flu season is more prevalent and there might be a resurgence of COVID-19? I know God is in control of everything, and all things are in his hand. And we must not speak those things into existence. But that's all we're hearing in the media. What do you say with that possibility of COVID-19 resurging into the community?
Well, I'd like to again thank Nicole for bringing up and carrying the conversation forward. I want to tie this back also to the domestic violence as well, as we're
Yes.
talking. But one concern that I have also from all that I just spoke about and all that was discussed so far in this commentary, that imagine yourself being at home with a perpetrator who all of these things are overwhelming and fear driven. There's a lot of anxiety. And here you are also now living with the person that is also abusing you mentally, emotionally, physically, psychologically, sexually, all of the above, and any one of those. I have a friend that is currently in a situation where she is living with her husband who has been psychologically and emotionally abusive to her. And she now has reside in the lower half of the home or the upper half of the home, and him, they sleep separately. And that the other day she mentioned the fact that she was home, the children were not there when the children aren't there, and then these are adult children, when they're not there, that he came upon her and then tried to physically pull her into the bedroom, and asking her, what are you doing? But he physically put his hands on and trying to force her into a hug and situation with him. And nobody was there. And I'm just imagining how, and here she was, and she's a teacher. She is a teacher.
Okay.
And she has the responsibility of looking out for other people's children.
Mm-hmm.
The psychological stress and trauma that people are under, let alone the physical, and not minimizing either, is overwhelming. Things are closed right now. You are dealing with email, you're dealing with contacting people who are no longer in offices and buildings, and a lot of times. I'm not sure whether the family justice system centers are still open and operating with people in them, because that was one of the places that, you would be able to send somebody and you can then get the order protection. Also next door is the DA or what have you, the Queens Family Justice Center, Brooklyn Family Justice Center, So I am somewhat out of the loop in terms of knowing whether there's a physical place that you can go to, or is everything done remotely? And a lot of it is being done remotely. The other piece that I wanted to speak to when you say about children being at home, I am very concerned about them coming back in without any vaccine, any definitive understanding of how you catch this. You can be asymptomatic with COVID-19, not have any symptoms at all, and still have the disease and die. I've heard people saying that they talked to someone who said, the doctor says I have COVID-19, I don't have symptoms, and by the next week, they were gone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? There are so many different levels to this particular virus that is still unknown. They cannot explain all of the parameters about it. So throwing children back into a classroom and not having a real clear-cut understanding how this actually spreads is I'm definitely not for them coming back. But my concern is this. This is the other, again, hitting the brown and Black populations. Wi-Fi is not universal. There are people that do not have Wi-Fi, that do not have laptops. If you're in a shelter, you're not with Wi-Fi and you're not with laptops. There is a great education divide that is taking place now, that children that were already in underprivileged schools, if you will, schools that weren't up on the grade, they're falling behind like crazy right now. It is frightening. And that whole, this has been 6 months. They've lost 6 months of education. I have worked with my daughter a little bit with my grandson. Thank God my daughter is a college educated person. The assignment he got, he was in 6th grade, he's going to 7th. The assignment he got was to do an MLA citation on one of his homework assignments. I said, MLA citation, 6th grade, what? I had to do like, woo, and I'm like, We do that at college level. Because she's college educated, she was able to look at and help him with that. Imagine the sister that maybe high school diploma and just got, the high school diploma and nothing further than that. How will they be able to help? And then this new math that just boggles me. How come 1 and 1 plus 2 can't be just 2 anymore? No, it's the 1 that's in the, what? Why do you have to explain 1? 1 is 1. It always has been. Now all of a sudden 1 is a scientific experiment. How do you get to 1? And I mean, this new math. So you have children, there's this great division that not everybody has a laptop. Not everybody can function in terms of using that particular equipment and using that. Not everyone is computer savvy or computer literate. I am. I've been on Zoom for years now because I'm in school. So Zoom wasn't new for me. Everybody else is like, Zoom, what? And I've been on Zoom for the last few years, Skype, but not everybody's literate that way.
True.
Google Classroom. So there's this great, and my friend that I was talking about, with my teacher friend, she used to cry because she was not computer literate as a teacher. So she was going through a great strain first to get on board with using the computer to to deliver her lessons, and crying because she was like, whoa, she was on a learning curve. So on both sides, there's this curve. And you're dealing with the stressor of violence, overwhelming, and you're inside of your house, sheltering in place, again, where no one can see you.
I want to address the mental capacity and the psychological effect of everything that we're dealing with: violence, uncertainty, COVID-19, illnesses, not knowing if you're going to be able to keep your lights on, keep your gas on, pay your rent, eat,
Yeah.
And the mental capacity, the ability to Black and brown women getting what they need as far as getting counseling, seeing a psychologist or a psychiatrist, especially our men as well. And like you said, Barbara, you're sitting at home and you're with your abuser. Who helps that person? How can they get help? Are the agencies even open? Is there a number they can call? Is there someone that they can confide in? What do they do now?
The family justice centers that Barbara mentioned, there's one in each borough, and they are closed physically. Right? They only have a number that you can call, and now they've created, because of COVID-19, a safe chat. So they have a number that you can chat with someone, with an advocate, who will be able to guide them. So I guess I can give you those later, and
Absolutely.
then you can put them up.
Definitely, we would like to put them on the bottom of your screen, just in case if you know of anyone or you yourself may be in need of it, and you can definitely go to those numbers and call. I don't want people to sit home, and not do anything.
Yeah.
And has there been a spike? There has been a spike,
Yeah.
correct?
There's been a spike in calls in New York. There has been a spike in violence worldwide. So COVID-19 has acted as catalyst for exposing things, shining light on societal issues that have always been there that we have been ignoring.
Yeah.
And we've already had a pandemic called domestic violence worldwide that's been ignored worldwide. And that COVID-19, as Barbara mentioned, having your abuser locked in place with you has caused the violence to spike tremendously, to the point where countries don't even know how to address this in an efficient manner. Some countries have been using empty hotels to have survivors go there, but it's not enough. I think every country is scrambling. The UN is scrambling, trying to figure out ways. that they can be able to combat the violence. But it's become so overwhelming that they don't even know how to get a handle of it worldwide. I have helped, I've been honored to be used by God to help a few people get out of domestic violence situations during the pandemic. When we were all quarantined, I actually got more calls, so I was able to help more people, and I'm really happy to be used in that way. But it's a problem that if we had been paying attention in the proper manner beforehand, it wouldn't be like this today. And so now I can't call it a good thing, but the only good thing is that it's in organizations' faces now, in government spaces now, do something. You know, but it's a pandemic, just like COVID-19.
What is also a pandemic, and it's been going on for years, is racism. This is nothing new.
Yes.
And now all of a sudden, these big corporations and these big businesses and where we work want to shine light. You know, it became such a big thing. The president, our own president, didn't know about what was Juneteenth. And now Nicole Sharpe, like I saw on your page, on your social media page, about Juneteenth, a celebration. Now everybody's bigging up. It's all such a big thing now, Juneteenth. Oh, Black Lives Matter is such a big thing right now. Where were you years ago? We've been fighting racism. This is nothing new.
Right.
Why all of a sudden is this big production made over Black Lives Matter? And then now it's a fuel thing that whites are using against blacks to do the things that they're doing. Let's not even talk about the protests and those that are covering their faces because you have to wear a mask. So now it gives people a license to go ahead and loot that are not necessarily black and brown, but it gives them a license to do whatever they want. Let's talk to that.
Yeah, I just want to say real quick. My daughter, she was a protester, right? She's sincere. She wants to advocate. She's out there. She's in Manhattan, and she's seeing white people looting. They had bricks piled up, and she's looking like, is this a video game? Why are bricks piled up over here? Why are mattresses over here? No, actually, one white guy said, we have a mattress right here. Somebody burn it. You know, she literally saw them going into high-end stores on Fifth Avenue, or wherever, Columbus Circle, and taking stuff. And she had an idea that this was, you know, I'm gonna go protest. I'm gonna go stand up for my Black people. She was like, this is something else. What is really going on? So when you say, you know, all of a sudden, you know, non-Black and brown people now want to fight with us and the Black Lives Matter, I see another agenda. I don't see the agenda that we've always had, but I see another agenda. And I can just speak specifically, you know, like with my daughter's experience and what she came back and told me, and it's just something else going on.
Absolutely. I like to thank you for bringing that up again. And I love this, Miss Denise Sutton. I love this. I love it.
Yeah.
You asked, what is this? Let me be clear about something, that I am not, because I am a boomer. What do you call it? A boomer, whatever.
Baby boomer.
A who? A baby.
Baby boomer.
Baby boom, bam. So, I want to say that as a child of the 60s, growing up in the 60s, looking at the civil rights movement, migrating into Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, and moving in with the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army, Stokely Carmichael, Muhammad Ali, saying, I am the greatest. And I was there to witness him. I was maybe 9 or something when he beat Sonny Liston and said, I am the greatest. And all of the profound things that he's left us with, a man of wisdom. He spoke one time. They gave him a television special where he talked about selflessness. Very powerful and a very wise Black man. But with that said, if we don't go all the way back to 1620, when the ships that left 1619 when the ships left those slave castles in Africa, systemic racism began.
Yes.
They left with a vengeance that we were of a lesser value. We were a product. We were 3/5 human, and we did not matter. The Civil War was fought because cotton was king. Cotton was the cash product of this country that sustained the financial wealth of this country, and the people and the persons that made that product king was African American slaves. They changed slavery into sharecropping in the Jim Crow South. And when that was supposedly ended in the civil rights movement, mass incarceration so that slavery remains. If you look at 13, the 13th Amendment, but 13, Ava DuVernay, created this documentary, the 13th, that talks how slavery continues. They just change the process that it's done by.
The new Jim Crow law.
Absolutely. The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. Those are books and documentaries. When you look at that, I'm not really too blown away by a Juneteenth holiday. I don't need a holiday. Black Lives Matter on the street is wonderful. It's beautiful art. I love it. But I'm not looking for a strip on the street or a holiday. I'm sorry. Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma. We were business owners. We owned property, business, and everything. They burnt it to the ground and killed hundreds of African Americans and made sure you never get to do that again.
That's right. That's right.
When we talk about change and Black Lives Matter, this is what matters. This is transit. Change the education system, put my history in the books the way it really is. The way it really, really, really is. I don't need a Juneteenth holiday. I already know what Juneteenth is. And liberation still hasn't taken place because COVID-19 shows me how you still have me underneath. Economically, physically, and in every area. Systemic racism was built into the Constitution of these US. But given all of that, so that I don't sound so cryptic and so go ahead, sister, run it down. Let me give you something. My God reigns, that no matter what they put in place, no matter how they shape it, no matter what they call it, no matter what holiday they might declare it as, I am liberated, I am exonerated, I am celebrated by the one with all power, my living God, my God. And through that process, there's nothing that they can stop. They can't stop me. We don't die, we multiply, right? We're babies, kids. We don't die, we multiply. And we gonna be here till the last hallelujah is said, okay?
Amen.
Amen. The strength of Nicole Sharpe, the power of Miss Sutton to be able to have this vehicle, to bring us together, to have the conversation, to put it out there, to be very clear and succinct and very astute about the exact nature of things. Yes, you still cannot keep us down. You will not destroy that which God has given. We are blessed and a peculiar people, called from the divine calling of earth and heaven. God called Black people into the world. The nature and the cradle of civilization is where? Africa. No matter what you do, no matter how you do it, we're going to always be here. We're going to always be on the winning side. Who's on the Lord's side, huh?
Growing up in New Orleans as a little girl was precious moments in time that I often reflect on. This is when you enjoyed outdoors, played in the grass, got dirty, and didn't have a care in the world. I remember riding my skates with my friends and often falling on my butt and just laughed. I remember when my friends and I would catch all the frogs and put them in a bucket as a pet. These days, you barely see a frog. I remember going to the corner store, buying wine candy, sugar babies, Lay's potato chips, pig lip, and hot pickles. Boy, was that fun. Dana, my best friend of 20 years, knows me better than anyone, especially when I'm depressed. I love her so much, but we can't see eye to eye on this corona madness. Michelle, my co-worker of 15 years. I nicknamed her Miss Malcolm X. I never thought she wouldn't overstand me when I was down on hard times. She was my rock. I just want to be alone with my thoughts. Everyone has betrayed me, and the system has lied to me. I don't know, but something is just not adding up. So many black and brown people are dying. And why? How can they expect us to continue living in isolation? Shoot, that may be why they up my meds. Growing up in New Orleans was magical. The culture, the second lines, the unity. I remember the togetherness. Life was beautiful. Now, this pandemic has caused so much division, so much havoc, so much death. It feels so empty, like life was sucked out of New Orleans and the whole world. Did they lie to us? I don't know what is truth anymore. I just want it all back.
Lisa!
They just won't leave me alone. I will not be committed. There's gotta be a better way. There's gotta be a better way than this. No, stop calling me. I'm taking their poison. I'm not conforming. I'm not doing it. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. They lying to us. They lying. They lying. They lying to us. They're calling me. Oh, this is set up. Population control. Oh, God. You got to tell me what to do. They're not going to set me up in no sidewalk. Because I don't believe them. Because I'm not conforming to what they say. They want to put poison in my veins? No. What to do, God? Tell me where to go. I feel like the whole world is against me. So I'm deemed crazy, right? I'm tired of running. I don't trust nobody. I'm tired of running. I don't trust nobody. I gotta get out of here. They found me. My friends found me. They closing in on me. Now where am I going now? Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. But I guess they really were worried. My head hurts so much. I need to just lay down. People really do need each other. I need to let my friends help me. Angels, just take me home.
Thank you.
I grew up in a couple of places. We ended up moving to our own house in Flatlands area of New York. It was a beautiful neighborhood, tree-lined block we lived on. I really loved it. I thought when we moved to the house that our life was gonna be more beautiful. I was watching TV on a Friday night around 8:30. It's the time that my father shot my mother after he beat her up. November 22nd, 1991. My father, he was an avid reader, borderline genius. He just knew everything. History, current events, everything. He wanted me to be like that, so he would drive me around the city, go upstate, look at monuments, and then tell me the history of the monument. Our relationship was just really, really a good one. It was just so weird that he could love me so deeply and so tremendously, but not have that love for my mother. I wish that he treated my mother like that, as opposed to me. She was really a community activist in her own right. She used to buy turkeys for people and then just give them out for Thanksgiving. She had very high cheekbones and big cheeks, and this beautiful person. She shined like the sun. A lot of love. We had a rotary phone, the old one, in the kitchen. He would touch it, and if it was warm, it meant my mother was on the phone, so then he would just beat her because she's not supposed to be on the phone. He was upset when she would go to night classes, and he would beat her when she came home. When she got her diploma, she put it in a frame and she put it on the wall, and he took it off the wall. He beat her up that night and said, "Don't you ever put that thing back on my wall." She did it the very next night, and then he beat her up again. She didn't do it again. Police, when they came to the house, when there was fighting happening, they would just take my father outside and then they just walk him down the street and then come back. He was never arrested. I remember one time she was just washing dishes and she was just singing "Que Sera, Sera." She used to sing that, especially after she would be beaten by my father. And I used to wonder, why is mommy singing this song? You know, instead of just leaving. And I got to a point where I started becoming comfortable in seeing the violence and expecting the violence. And I started preparing myself for one of my parents to die. In the end, my father only got 4.25 years for killing a whole human being. I've tried to forget things because it's so painful, but I'm learning how to live with the memories. I used to always think of suicide growing up. I used to always say that. I felt like I was in prison. And I just wanted to leave this place. When it comes to children who experience domestic violence, who witness it, they feel the abuse like the victim, because the victim is someone that they love.
Hi, this is Denise Sutton reporting for Black Men Screaming and Can We Talk Television, and we have a very special guest with us today. I have Natalie Wilson, who is the co-founder and director of PR for Black and Missing Foundation Incorporated. Thank you, Ms. Wilson, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
So tell us about this organization, Black and Missing.
Okay. So the Black and Missing Foundation is a nonprofit organization that brings awareness to missing people of color around the country. And it was started, or the inspiration behind it is there was a young lady by the name of Tamika Houston who went missing from Spartanburg, South Carolina. And we read how her family really struggled to get any type of media coverage for her disappearance. And her aunt is in media relations, so how ironic is that? A little while later, Natalie Holloway went missing, and just saying her name alone, everybody knows who she is. So my sister-in-law and I, Derica, we decided to do some research to see if this is an issue. Are people of color disappearing? And at the time, 30% of all persons missing were of color. And to date, since we started the organization, that number has grown to 2,000. That number has grown to 40%. So Derica and I decided that we need to do something. Why do we wait, or why should we wait for someone else? I'm in media relations, Derica is in law enforcement, and those are the two critical positions or professions needed to help us find and bring awareness to our missing. So that's the inspiration behind it. The motivation behind it is that we're hearing from so many families that are saying, we are their last resort. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to turn. They're not getting help from the media. They're not getting help from law enforcement. They're not even getting help from our community. So we are advocates for our missing because we believe that they deserve to be found and that they matter.
They do matter. In fact, I was going to ask you, and if you can please clarify for us, when someone is missing, how long should you wait before you contact the police as well as your organization? What's the protocol? How should people react if you notice your child, or even if it's a small child or an adult child or person in general in your life? What's the protocol?
Okay, so normally the protocol is if it's a child under 18, you can report that child missing to law enforcement immediately. Now, you do need to know the laws for your state or your jurisdiction. For instance, in DC and Illinois, you can report a person missing, whether they're an adult or a child, immediately. In some localities, you have to wait 24 to 48 hours. But we are noticing that oftentimes when our children are reported missing, they're classified as a runaway. So if you're classified as a runaway, you do not receive the Amber Alert or any type of media coverage. So that's why you have to advocate for your missing loved one. And you have to be vigilant because you know your child's behavior or your loved one behavior more than anyone else. So you have to advocate on their behalf. And in order for us, meaning the Black and Missing Foundation, to get involved to assist, there must be a police report on file, a missing persons report on file. And oftentimes we're finding that the families try to file a police report, but law enforcement didn't take it. It's because we have experience in law enforcement and the media. We help families and we coach them through the process.
So coaching is involved in the process once they contact your organization.
Yes, so once they contact our organization and we verify that the person is indeed missing and a missing persons report is on file, we create flyers and we share those on our clearinghouse, meaning our website and our social media platforms. We also share with law enforcement and the media in that area, and we share with our media partners, and we ask families to share with their network as well so we can get the word out about the missing person.
And that's the key, to get the word out.
Yes.
That's the key right there. In the wake of COVID-19, have you seen an uptick in the number of people of color missing? Has there been an uptick?
Absolutely. Yes, we definitely have. And we're seeing that less and less profiles are being reported on the news because the focus is on the election and it's on COVID. So that's why we utilize social media to bring awareness to our missing, because we can't wait on the normal news cycle. We have to get this information out very quickly because time is of the essence.
And I know, I'm sorry, please go ahead. Finish your
But we're
thought.
also seeing that a lot of our children are online, and more of them are becoming victims to sex trafficking because they're meeting individuals online who are then grooming them, making them feel comfortable and that they're their age, and these kids are meeting up with them, and then they're disappearing. So we're telling parents, please monitor what your child is doing online, who they're talking to, what apps they're on. Please be vigilant.
And at what age should parents start teaching and or training their children to do just that?
Oh, as early as possible. I mean, when your child is ready for that conversation, and you have to have it because these predators, they are relentless. And we have to be relentless too in communicating and protecting our children. So I've seen now 2-year-olds, they are so savvy with these apps and different things. So I think 2 is a little too young to talk to about that. And you just have to be diplomatic as to how you interact, because a 2-year-old, you should be monitoring what they're doing online. And I know they're looking at Mickey Mouse or Baby Shark or whatever, but please be mindful when they have your phone or they're online. And as these kids get older, they're exposed to more apps, and you need to really monitor what they're doing and who they're talking to and when they're online.
And I know your foundation's been in existence for 12 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the growth and expansion in it? I've seen the YouTube clip where you've had national exposure on platforms such as The View with Whoopi Goldberg.
Mm-hmm.
What else are you looking to do as far as the foundation and expanding it?
Well, we want the Black and Missing Foundation to be a household name for any person of color,
yes,
who is missing, and their families, because we need to support them. But again, it's not just Derica and I who have founded the organization. It's all of us. It's law enforcement, it's the media, it's our community. We all have a role to play. And we have come a long way, but we have a lot of work to do. Because as we're talking to people, we're still realizing that in our communities, we believe that sex trafficking is happening abroad. No, it's happening in our backyards. And it's not only happening to our young girls, but our boys are being victims of sex trafficking as well. And we're seeing the ages, they're being groomed at a younger and younger age. 9 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old. We have to do a better job at protecting our kids and our community. We have to go back to that it takes a village mentality.
And I was thinking about that. I was thinking about when I was a child growing up, I was the oldest of 8 grandchildren. And so we were told, go outside and play. You play outside from the beginning of the day after breakfast, and you didn't come back inside until it was just getting dark. And we may have been at the neighbor's house, up the block, down the road yonder, because we were in Manning, South Carolina at that time. And now in this day and age, you have to have your child under lock and key because of what's going on.
Yes, yes. And it's so sad that our communities have now, changed so much. But we hear these horror stories all the time. The child is outside playing, and someone abducts the child, or through social media or online. That's how predators are getting to our children now, online. They don't even have to be outside, so it's a subject that we definitely need to continue to have the conversation about, because our children, our men and women are disappearing at an alarming rate.
So also our men as well as women, grown people, because I saw on your website, as of right now, there were 2 people that were listed. It was a man and a girl, I think was 12 or 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Why are adult men and women missing?
So they're missing for a number of reasons. A subject that we do not want to discuss in our community is mental health. I think a large number of the cases we're starting to see is either sex trafficking or mental health issues that's causing them to walk away or not be able to function, and as a result, they're missing. And there's also domestic violence. We're seeing a lot of women, reported missing because of domestic violence. And we're seeing a lot of our seniors walking away because they suffer from Alzheimer's or dementia. And we know that it's really a tough job for the caretaker, and they can't watch them 24/7. But you'll be surprised how quickly these seniors can walk out of that door and just disappear, and sadly, for our cases, many of them were found deceased. So it's sad for the families.
And also, I noticed on your website, and I would like for you to give us the website location, www.
It's bamfi.org.
Great, and we'll have that at the bottom of the screen. You can get a lot of information on your website, statistics, the list of police departments in each state in the United States, which was great. I love to see that. And of course, you can see the YouTube clip on that as well. But speak to those that are in the gay community, because that's also, I noticed that was I didn't realize that, but that's also a factor.
Yes.
Those that are dealing the gay and lesbian community, and they show up missing.
Yes. So what we're also seeing is the LGBTQ community. Sadly, a lot of these individuals, they are in the sex trade industry because they have to survive. So they've been forced to leave home. They have no other way of getting the basic food and security and clothing. And, they are in the sex industry, and these pimps, they're providing for you. You have to do something in return to pay them back. And once these kids are involved,